Hello everyone and good evening. We hope you guys are all doing well. Oh, it's nice to see everybody waving and smiling. Great. So this is our last lesson, second semester. And as you know, after this, we've got a Congress next week. Is anyone coming to the Congress? No? Okay, I've got a surprise for you. Steve is not, as you can see on the screen today. And he was supposed to be here, actually, tonight as well to say hi to you all, but Steve couldn't. He's still in Israel. This is why I was so excited today, but Steve couldn't make it. He was supposed to come and join us here instead of on the screen today. He's a really nice guy. He came here. He said, "Oh, listen, I'm from the Learning Center, Steve, and I thought I'd come to the Congress." So I got really excited, and I got him invited as well. I said, "Come on and join us on Tuesday night. Have a few words with everyone." He was just about to, and he said, "Oh, listen, I've got this other thing on," so he couldn't make it. Maybe he'll join us later on Zoom. So, but Steve is here, just so that you know. And if anybody else is coming or would like to come, you know, the registration is still open. However, today what we're going to do is carry on with our last lesson for the second semester. Next Tuesday we won't have a lesson because of the Congress, but what I do recommend everyone is to watch what's going on in the Congress. Now, if you would like to see what's going on in the Congress, okay, you can go to this website, www.cab.tv. Okay, now on there we've got a few languages, and you can see actually what's happening all throughout the day. On the 20th of February, on the 21st of February, and on the 22nd of February, we are going to have activities next week all day. In the evening as well, there'll be a lot of fun. There'll be lessons, there'll be music, there'll be fun. We'll be having breakfast, lunch and dinner there. It's going to be really nice. So just be mindful that if you can't make it, you can definitely watch it, and then you can also see what's going on as well. Is anyone coming from Africa?
I think we do have a few friends coming from Africa. I believe Kalichi, I believe also Praz and
Bright's coming from the UK.
Bright's coming from the UK. So we've got a lot of friends that are going to be joining us here, and we're looking forward to having everybody with us.
And we've got some friends from South Africa coming as well.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So we do have some friends from Europe and Africa coming. So there you go.
South and West Africa as well.
South and West Africa. Okay, great. So that's the first news. And the second news is what we're going to study today. Well, as you know, last week we talked about how the sensation of the soul was in fact felt between the connection with everything that's between us. And in fact, when we're talking about everything that's between us, we're talking about everything that's inside reality as a whole. And because reality consists of this pyramid, right? It's this huge pyramid. Actually, you know what? I'll do a bit better. Make it really, really wide. In fact, the whole of reality, as you know, consists of the still level, the vegetative level, the animate level, the human level. Okay? And right at the top of the pyramid, still vegetative, animate, human, and spiritual. And this is actually how the structure of reality is. And as you can see here, a person who's trying to get spiritual, all right, there are very few of them in the world. Although a lot of people are doing a lot of methods like religions and so on, if we define spirituality in terms of Kabbalah, is actually the revelation of the Creator. Okay, so revealing the Creator while we're still living in this world. That's what spirituality is in terms of Kabbalah. And the way we do that is coming to the same attributes, equalizing our attributes, with the Creator. And this is how it can happen. And why is that so important, and why is that the topic of our lesson today, you might be asking? Well, although we've been over this about the purpose of life, we know the purpose of life already now according to the wisdom of Kabbalah, and we know that we need to equalize ourselves to the attributes of the Creator. Today what we're going to talk about is one of the practical ways of how to get it done. Because the big question is, the big question in Kabbalah is always, okay, listen, it's really great. We want to discover the Creator. We want to reveal the Creator. This is how we're going to do it, okay? Because with our five senses, it's not happening. So how are we supposed to discover this Creator while we're living here inside our five senses? And in order to do that, we have to put ourselves into a study framework. So today what we're going to talk about is what to do, basically. And before we turn this room into a Turkish bath, let's turn on the aircon. There we go, so we can cool down a little bit. Okay. So today we're going to talk about how this is all going to work out inside inside the framework of the wisdom of Kabbalah, how we're going to study and how we're going to actualize it. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. Before we read an article from Rabash, which we're going to, I just want to clarify in a nutshell again how this whole system works, and then we're going to read Rabash, and then we're going to talk about a practical application that we can integrate into our framework so that it can help us develop much faster. Right then, as you are well aware, a person with a dot in the heart by now has come into the group. Okay, because I'm saying has come into the group because this is our last lesson, and afterwards we're going to have the education center lesson. So I'm talking about a person who after the young group semester integrates him or herself into the environment, into the group or the environment. As you are aware, the environment for us, in terms of spiritual environment, let's call it a spiritual environment so we don't get confused. A spiritual environment is a group where we have a guide, we have the books, and we have the friends, so that the guide can teach us the books correctly and we can apply it with the friends in order to get enlightened. Okay, if this is like a light bulb. Okay, so we can get enlightened from within the group. The one other thing that we can add to this practical application is called dissemination. Disseminate. Let me write that in red. Dissemination. Now, dissemination means helping others to come also closer to the purpose of life. Now, the purpose of life is for everyone. All 8 billion people on the planet have to, whether we like it or not, actually, have to come to the purpose of life, which is the Creator. No shortcuts, I'm afraid. We all have to get here. And all of humanity, because we all need to get there, have to kind of integrate ourselves into this reality like a jigsaw puzzle and find our place. And finding our place is a little tricky because we don't know the whole of reality. We don't know the whole of creation, do we? We have no idea. We're just born here, and as we grow up, what's inserted into our minds, into our subconscious, is we live the way we live because everybody else does. Okay, this is exactly how animals live as well. So monkeys in the forest live the way they live, or chickens in a chicken farm live the way they live, because that's how they kind of born into it. Okay, and they don't know anything else. So chickens walk on two legs, and also we walk on our two legs around the world, and we live just like everybody else. And because that's how it is, we don't think about what we should be doing, or we don't even search or necessarily try to find out if there's an alternative way of living, because it just doesn't occur to us. The reason it occurred to some of us is because of this tricky little fella that is pinching us, this dot in the heart. Now, a lot of people in humanity haven't, well, they all have a dot in the heart, but they haven't really asked themselves the meaning of life. They're not really searching for a meaning of life. They're just searching to be happy. And that's very nice, actually, because by nature, we're a desire to receive pleasure, as you know. Okay, our nature is actually to receive pleasure. And this is exactly why we were created for. We are supposed to get pleasure. However, when you have a dot in the heart and you start to look at life, and if you're studying Kabbalah, you begin to understand that pleasure is actually not possible to receive pleasure if we remain in this nature. This is why humanity runs from one pleasure, one desire to another, hoping that they'll be fulfilled all the time, but they can't be, because the pleasure, as you know, cancels the desire, and we're ending up always with a big minus. So a person who has a dot in the heart has the ability, if he enters or she enters a group who studies the authentic wisdom of Kabbalah, has the opportunity to change that nature and make it something more compatible to the Creator, which we call that equivalence of form. Equivalence of form. And if a person can do that, then with that connection with the Creator, a person can have an endless pleasure. How to do that is what we're going to study, and how to do we already studied how to do it, but we're going to add to it today the topic of dissemination. Anybody has kids here? Yes? Raise your hands if you got kids. Do you have kids? Okay, so we have kids, right? Great. Okay, good. I have two. You got kids, Anthony?
Oh, yes.
Yes, you have. You look like a man with a face who's got kids.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Anybody want some kids? I got it.
Okay, great. Now, we all have kids, right? Now, when we were first married, we don't have kids, but afterwards, after you're married, after a while, you have kids. So what happens is this: you can't really become mum and dad unless you have kids. Until you have kids, you're not actually even really a family, you're just like a couple. So until we have kids, we can't really feel or understand what it's like to give life, to be a part of that life, and to feel the life of somebody else. So children, this is why we have children, they're very, very important, because they contribute a lot to how we feel and how we change how we feel in our day-to-day corporeal life without even getting spiritual. Because they have the ability to actually change our attention from ourselves to somebody else that we care about, called our children. And that's the most amazing thing about kids, because all of a sudden you begin to worry about this little 2-3 kilogram piece of meat, which all it does is just scream and throw its legs about, okay? But somehow you begin to like it, love it, and care for it. Now, this kind of caring and loving comes from our nature, and if it didn't, the generations wouldn't really carry on. So nature gives us this ability to love our children and to want to take care of them, to want to give them the best. However, if we want to get spiritual, we have to do something similar. We don't have to have new kids. Okay, you'll be glad to hear, Anthony, you don't have to have any more new kids now.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. However, though, we do have to develop this new sensation towards other people that we're not related to. And how we can do that, the action of caring for somebody else that we don't really know, we haven't, we're not really in connection with, we have no family ties with, we're not even related, we don't know them, we don't even have contact with them most of the time. How we can develop that is called dissemination. It's kind of like me and Anthony sitting here right now and trying to help you guys find out how you can develop spiritually. Do we get paid for this? Not at all. We don't. In fact, you'll be glad to know, we're in fact paying for education with this thing called Marcer. Okay, Marcer is teething, which also finances everything we do here. So we're actually also paying for education spiritually. It's like paying your school kids tuition fees as well. Isn't that great?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So on top of helping others, we also do our best to make sure that the whole of humanity is also advancing towards the purpose of life. Because if life does have a purpose, the only good thing we can do to others about it is for them to recognize that there is a purpose, so we can live towards a purpose instead of living our lives in this world with the attitude of, well, everybody's living like this and I'm living like them as well. Because if life carries on like that, we're no different to the animals in the forest. They're living in a jungle and we live in a concrete jungle. And no difference. There are a lot of people in life, if you talk to them and if you ask them, why do you go to work? And they say, well, everybody else is going to work as well. This is how we live. We get up, we go to work, we make money, we come home and we do it all over again until it's the weekend. And on the weekend, what do? Well, we go to the pub. Why do you go to the pub? Because all my friends go to the pub. Okay?
Because we have kids.
All right, there you go. So people have this routine. They live their life because they look at people and they say, well, everybody else is living like this as well. So in order for us to get out of this vicious cycle and stop living in this loop that's not really taking us anywhere, Kabbalah said, listen, you want to get spiritual, you want to become like in spirituality, this format called mum and dad. There's a mum and dad in spirituality. It's called Chokhmah and Bina from the 10 Sefirot. In order for us to attain spiritual attributes, we need to be like those spiritual attributes. So you ask the Kabbalists, well, how can we have those spiritual attributes? Well, if you begin to care for others like the Creator is caring for us, then slowly and slowly you begin to change your nature. And that change in nature begins to develop inside of you, this soul, this sixth sense, where you can begin to observe reality from the eyes of the Creator. And dissemination is a way of doing that. Because, for example, tonight's Tuesday night. Okay, normally tonight, Tuesday night, if I wasn't studying Kabbalah, Tuesday night is normally my, what they call in England is, not in England, in Sydney, Tuesday night is a tight budget night. There's another word for it, but I can't say it here. It's called a tight budget night. Okay, it's a cheap night at the cinema. Okay, it's Tuesday night. So where do you go on the Tuesday night? You go to the movies on a Tuesday night. However, tonight, although it's Tuesday, we're not going to go on a tight budget night. Why? Because we have to help friends who want to advance in spirituality, and we want to give them the best that we can so that they know what the meaning of life and the purpose of life is, so that we can all get there together. And that action of helping others is called dissemination. That's in a nutshell. Why is that important and why does that come to us from spirituality? Well, the Creator, when He created us all, created us so that we could get to the purpose of life here, where we can consciously feel and be like the Creator. So his objective is, this is where we were created. We were created here. And then we're in this corporeal reality. And he'd like to see us here with him in perfect consciousness, let's say. Perfect consciousness. Just like the Creator. And our lifespan of corporeality is here. So if the Creator has this objective of bringing us from here to here by taking us through corporeality, so that we, by our own effort, with our own effort, can attain spirituality from no spirituality at all, then helping anyone to reach that goal actually becomes a vessel of bestowing to the Creator. So bestowing to others effectively turns into bestowing to the Creator, simply because we're trying to help him get to his objective. Does that make sense? Right? If I want to help anybody to achieve their goal according to how they want, that's bestowing to them. So here the Creator wants to bring the whole of humanity to perfection, all of us together, everyone on the planet, no exceptions. So people who have a dot in the heart have an obligation, if they like, it's an opportunity. I like to call it a 1 in a billion chance. Because a person who has a dot in the heart, if he really develops, he can or she can help others to develop as well. And that can begin a spiritual change inside a person, which, like I said, will begin to make you observe the whole of reality through the eyes of the Maker, which is the Creator. Oh, sounded like the Matrix there for a moment. Right, okay. And that's what dissemination is all about, helping others in order to attain, in order for them to get closer to spirituality, to attain spirituality, so that the Creator can reach his goal of bringing us all to spirituality. The reason that we have to do it all together is so that we don't cancel our freedom of choice, because the Creator could have easily just made things happen and created us in perfection in the first place with all the consciousness, let's say. But that cancels, well, that defeats the whole purpose. How can you become to think like the Creator if you don't attain it? How can you become independent if it's not your own work? So the Creator here has given us an opportunity of free choice, where we can freely decide to dedicate our efforts in order to go through that personal change by creating that connection in reality with all the other people around the world, so that through that connection we can feel that bestowing force when our nature changes from egoism to bestowal. Just like a woman, okay, if you're mothers, you all know, right? What happens when a woman becomes pregnant? All of a sudden her whole nature begins to change. Okay, it's not like your wife 2 days ago, because all of a sudden now she's got on her mind this baby, and you're wondering why she all of a sudden, going nuts. But because her nature is changing throughout that pregnancy period, because now she feels she needs to really facilitate and take care of that baby. So in nature, a woman by default goes through that change, through that inner change of caring for that new being, We men don't feel that, unfortunately. If we did that, would have been great. But for us men, it's a bit different. But a woman feels that, and from that, you can see a lot of changes in her nature. This is how she grows. And so, with all of us as well, now we have to develop that at an independent level, and we have to build it ourselves. So let us read a few paragraphs from Rabash. Now, the article we're going to read is A Prayer of Many. There we go. Let me just... Actually, you know, I'm just going to draw this in a slightly better way now that I took a look at my notes. Okay. So this is where the Creator is. This is where, oops. This is where we are. And this is where the whole of humanity is. So the Creator is bestowing to everyone, but people who have a dot in the heart are the ones who really feel the Creator, because we have that sensory organ. And we can then accordingly bestow to the whole of humanity and raise them and elevate them to spirituality as well. So that's us, this is humanity, and this is how we all connect, and that's the Creator. So the Creator's attribute of bestowal clothes inside of the people who have a dot in the heart, and as they bestow, the whole world also starts to feel and become closer to the Creator. And then we have the whole of humanity here. This is how you begin to bestow as well. Just like in this life, when you begin to have kids, you start to love them, care for them. This is how we develop the same caring and loving attitude that the Creator has for all of us. Okay, a prayer of many. Let's read. It is written, I dwell among my own people. So that means the Creator here, is actually dwelling amongst people, amongst all of us. So where we discover the Creator, this is why we always say we discover the Creator in the connection between us. Okay? It is written, I dwell among my own people. The Holy Zohar says, one should never retire from the people because the mercy of the Creator is always on the whole people together. And this is why all of us in Bnei Baruch, as you know, we're not in a monastery. We include ourselves within humanity. So all of us in Bnei Baruch are living a normal life, just like everybody else. We're not on a mountaintop. We don't have a monastery somewhere. We're not closing ourselves inside a building and forgetting about the rest of the world. Because the Creator is dwelling amongst everyone, or the whole of creation. Okay? Everywhere. So we must always be together. This is a law in nature. Unity and togetherness. Right then. So this is why the mercy of the Creator is always on the whole people together. This means that if one asks of the Creator to give him vessels of bestowal, as our sages said, as He is merciful, you be merciful too. One should pray for the whole collective. This is important, okay? So any of us who have a desire and want to pray should pray for the whole collective. We should be praying, in other words, for all our friends. This is because then it is apparent that this aim is for the Creator to give him vessels of pure bestowal. As it was written, the mercy of the Creator is always on the whole people together. It is known that there is no giving of half a thing from above. This means that when abundance is given from above to below, it is for the whole collective. Therefore, any of us... Okay, who's with us today, mate?
Let's see here. We have Jose.
Okay, so this is Jose. Let's say this is Jose. Right, so Jose is here. Where's Jose from?
Jose, where are you from? I think Romania, is that correct?
Okay, that's Jose, right? Jose. So Jose, right, when we want something from the Creator, all of us, okay? When we want something from the Creator, let's say I want something from the Creator, I must want it for everyone, okay? For everybody. I must want it for the collective. Anyone who prays for themselves, they say, kills their own soul. Why? Because remember, in the whole of creation, the Creator created only one soul, and all of us are a part of that one soul. So if I pray only for myself, it's like a cancerous cell going off and eating a part of the body to feed itself without thinking about the health of the whole body. And we are also one body as humanity. Unfortunately, we don't feel it at the moment, but if we were to see how tightly connected we all are, we would be very, very careful about everything we did so that we wouldn't harm anybody. Because harming somebody in this world, even with small things like shooting yourself in the foot. So all of us, in reality, let's say this is Jose again, we have to make sure that we are praying. Praying means wanting to do good to others or wanting the benefit of others, right? So that we're all actually doing it for others. And if everybody is doing good to others or want to do good to others and is requesting the strength and the desire to good to others, then it's only normal that life will be good for all of us. Does that make sense? Yeah? I'm talking sense, right? If in the family, if everybody's treating everybody nicely in the family, we're gonna have a nice family, right? So imagine a nice world. Everybody treats each other nicely. It's a great world. And this is the whole idea. So when a person, let's see, what else we need to do. For this reason, one must ask for the whole public. Okay, this is the reason that we must ask for the whole public, because we're all connected. Since any abundance that comes from above always comes for the whole people. This is why he says the mercy of the Creator is always on the whole people. Thus, there are two meanings to that. Since to have pure bestowal, it would have been enough to pray for only one person besides himself. But there's another issue here. A person must ask for a whole thing, because it is a whole in spirituality, that what comes is always a complete thing. And all the observations are only in the receivers. For this reason, one should ask for the whole collective. If I want to ask for food from mum, my whole body is going to be nourished from it. If I'm eating something, it's not possible that one part of the body is going to suck it all and the rest of the part of the body is not going to benefit from it. Same here. If we want something good, it must be for everyone. The minute we start dicing off or cutting off parts and excluding and so on, it becomes a mess. It becomes like a cancerous body. Same here. If you relate it to our body, if you relate, you know what, in spiritual development, if we relate our attitude to how all our organs are connected, how all our cells are connected and working together. Plus, if we connect everything to a mini model of a family, it's very easy to figure this out. And since the abundance comes to the whole collective, and since there is no light without a kli, a vessel, meaning it is impossible to receive fulfillment if there is no vacancy for it where the feeling can enter, is therefore answered for that prayer that he was making for the public. It is as our sages said, Baba Kama, anyone who pleads for mercy on his friend is answered first, since he needs the same thing. It means that although the abundance comes to the collective lacks the kelim, the vessel. In other words, the abundance that comes from above is enough for the whole people, but without kelim, vessels, deficiencies, so they can fill the cavities, the public does not attain the abundance that comes from above. Rather, he who has deficiencies is answered first. Now you might say, well, what's that got to do with dissemination? Why do we have to do this? Well, it's very simple. Okay, because if we now look at everything as one family, as one created being, as one body, it becomes very clear. In our body, there are certain organs that can do things, and there are certain organs that are told to do things. For example, I have a brain, and if I use it and I think about something that I want to attain and get in life, I think about how I want to get it. And then I make a plan of what I need to do in order to go get it. But the action of doing is done with my hands and legs, right? They're done with my organs because I have to do things to attain something which I thought about. Now, if I just had the brain and I didn't have, God forbid, arms or legs or whatever, it's very difficult or nearly impossible or impossible completely to really do something or to get it done. So humanity is as such. There are some people in humanity, like scientists, like inventors, like people who discover the laws of nature, and they give direction to humanity. They lead humanity actually with all the gadgets that we're doing, with all the science that we developed, with all the philosophies. Imagine how the whole world changed. Always it changed by pioneers, which were a handful of people in the whole of humanity, and they changed the world, literally. So this comes from the concept of one body. At the end of the day, there is a part of humanity who thinks and foresees what the good future is, but they need to apply it as well. So what we have is a model of humanity in layers. Where we have people who are like spiritual, or on the path to spiritual or on the way. Let's call it like this. You know what? In life we have spiritual people. We have people on the path to spirituality. On the path to spirituality. I'm talking about Kabbalists, obviously. Spirituality. Okay, so attainment of the Creator, and those on the path to attaining the Creator. And then we have the rest of humanity who just live like they do, and they have no clue of what's going on. So if you think of all of us like one body, then what do we have to do? Well, we have to have an idea. Let's make this yellow. We have to have an idea, a vision, a purpose. What kind of purpose? Only one purpose. To come to the purpose of life, the purpose of creation, which is to attain the Creator. So the Kabbalists are saying, listen guys, this is the meaning of life. So they're teaching us, which is lovely, because of them, we can now be on the way to attaining the Creator. That's great. And because we're taking their advice, applying it, and we also want to become bestowers, because that's what the Creator is, we also begin to bestow to humanity. Thus, henceforth, humanity can also rise to the Creator. Isn't that wonderful? Does that make sense now? Why we disseminate? It's easy when you know how. It's 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is the layers of humanity. It's very easy. And like the Kabbalists say, the whole of spirituality is very, very easy. This is why they all sum it up with one law, which is what? You guys know? Love your friend as yourself. And this act of educating humanity, educating ourselves as well, okay, so we're not getting cocky about it or anything. We're also educating ourselves. We're educating ourselves. The Kabbalists are also educating themselves as well, all the time. Just like parents have to educate themselves about their children. It's not enough just to give them birth and then, give them milk and change their nappies. You have to educate yourself on how to raise those children. So the Kabbalists are always educating themselves on how to raise us, and we're educating ourselves on how to bestow like Kabbalists and educate ourselves on bestowing as well. So everybody's going through this educating and being educated process. But this is also via action, the act of doing it. It's not like going just to school. So in the environment, we learn, we study on how to grow spiritually, and we need to take action in order to attain those attributes, to make those attributes a part of our living entity. And this is like a cycle. Sometimes we can also draw it as a circle as well. If we were to draw it like this. Okay, so here we have Kabbalists. They teach people who want to learn how to be spiritual, which are students of Kabbalah. Students of Kabbalah. And like I said, once again, I will repeat this. Spirituality being attaining the purpose of life, attaining the attributes of the Creator. So, students of Kabbalah. And they teach humanity as well. Like raising children. That's why I gave the example. And we have a circle. And within that circle, everybody can feel, yep, you guessed it, the Creator. Because the Creator actually fills the whole of reality, and for us to feel Him, we need to build amongst ourselves in humanity this thing called love. And that's how it is in a nutshell. Very easy. Any questions?
We've got a ton.
All right, so this is why we disseminate. Okay, sometimes people ask, why are you teaching this free? Well, we don't like to take money for spirituality, because then it doesn't become spirituality. It becomes a business, okay? And we don't do business with spirituality. Spirituality is bestowal. And it means we're doing it because we care. Or we're doing it because we want to care. This is why all our work is voluntary work mostly. Yes, now you can ask questions. We've got about 10 minutes. Maybe we can extend it for another 5. Go for it.
Alrighty, so Steffi from Romania is asking, how long does it take to feel spirituality? If you do what the Kabbalists say, That is, the books, the group, the teacher.
It can take a very short time. It depends. It depends on the person's efforts. You know, it's not all about years. It's about the intensity of one's commitment as well. You know, sometimes something is so important that we delve in it all the time, even when we're at work. It's always with us. And I'd just like to say it doesn't take too long, but it's not too short either. So we're going to have to all give in a few good years of studying. Yeah.
All right. Steffi's also asking, what if you do not want to be a mom or dad? If you want to stay a child all the time?
Well, that's against the laws of nature, isn't it? I used to remember, do I remember? Maybe I did remember. Maybe I did say this to my mom and dad. Oh, I want to stay 6 years old. Why? It's so good. I'm playing out all day. Nobody's asking me questions. I don't have to work. But it's against the laws of nature. Sometimes kids say that, I don't want to grow up. In fact, you know what? I remember a friend of mine from college. And she never wanted to graduate. She did. You know, she's a very smart person. But she said, I love college so much, I never want to graduate. I'm like, come on, you know, get real. It's against the laws of nature. So unfortunately, we all have to grow. It's like you can't put a stop button on your age. It just keeps the clock ticking.
Would be nice. All right, Steffi's also asking, how can I convey the wisdom of Kabbalah to others if I'm still not sure, or have not actually achieved spirituality?
Yeah, at this stage you don't have to. The reason we're talking about it in the last lesson is because it's an activity we engage in. And sometimes people ask, well, why do we do it? Why do you guys do it? Because if I want to be a carpenter, I have to work with wood. I have to work with the tools. I have to feel the wood. I've got to smell that pine. I have to kind of caress it with my hands and get a feeling of it. And it's like that with any art. It's like that with any job. And same with spirituality. So if you want to, you know, there was a nice sentence I read in a book the other day. If you want to enrich yourself, you have to enrich others. That was a nice sentence. It wasn't actually from a Kabbalistic book either. But it says, if you want to enrich yourself, you must enrich others. And then it dawned on me that, you know, the best way to actually enrich yourself is not just by reading about it, but by actually doing the things you want to become. So this is why it's important. But you don't have to engage in it now at all. You should only be engaged in it if you enter the group after the young group and so on, and you wish to take part and so on. So there's no coercion or anything. We're just talking about the matter because it's a matter of interest as part of why we teach others and so on. So if a person wants to learn, the best way to become spiritual is to actually help others become spiritual. Yeah.
Now, from Claire. Claire, we missed you this class. Claire says, you've said before to be discerning with who we bestow to, and not to make huge efforts with people who will use us. Example, people outside this group. Mm-hmm. How do we develop knowledge of who is worth making extra effort with in our lives?
That's a very good question. Well, you know, what we normally do is we help people who want to get help. You can't go out onto the street and start helping everyone because not everybody wants help. So you can only help someone if they specifically say, you know, can you give me a hand with this? This is why our dissemination activities are very passive. It's all on the internet or it's all on books, and we don't tell people about it out there on the street. We don't do that. Okay, so don't do that. We don't go out to the streets and start, you know, telling people about it. It's very passive. We have a study framework. We tell people if they're interested, they find us anyway. But we have also a lot of books. If a person is interested, they can read a book. They can go onto the website. They can read all the articles that are on the website. We have a lot of articles on many websites. So it's all very passive. So to the outside people, it's not good to go up front and talk to them about it. But if you want to help out, you can help out with some blogs that we run. You can help out with some Facebook pages that we run. Why? Because it's out there for the general of humanity. without getting into anybody's face or pushing them into anything. Does that make sense, Claire? Yeah? So with the people on the outside, all right, who are not looking for spirituality, you don't do anything. The only way we can actually disseminate is just putting it out there on the table like an open buffet. There are a bunch of methods of, there are a bunch of spiritual methods that are out there on the market. So we just put our stuff on the internet as well. We put our books on the shelves. If somebody wants to learn, like you found on the education center, so you came to the education center, well, now you can learn. And in the future, what you can do, if you integrate yourself into the group, there are a lot of opportunities to actually help do things on the internet or with books and so on.
Now, Gary is asking, so a person has to know they're ill before they seek a remedy?
I like to go to the doctor for a checkup before I feel bad. Does that answer the question? Or what was the question again? So a person has to know...
This is from Gary. Okay. Gary says, so a person has to know that they're ill before they seek a remedy.
Well, a person's going to do two things. He's either going to be smart and he's going to say, I better go for a regular checkup twice a year just to make sure everything's honky-dory. Or if I feel bad, if I feel the slightest pinch, I better go. Or some people just wait, wait because they don't like going to the doctor. They just wait. I don't know why they wait. And then it's just too late. Okay? Or they're in real trouble. But what does push a person to ask questions is suffering. Obviously, we don't want people to suffer. It's not something you want for people you care about. And we should be caring about humanity as spiritual people. We should be caring about humanity. So what we like to do is we like to make sure we put everything out there on the table. So the slightest moment a person feels like they're suffering and they want to know why and they're looking and searching for an answer, they can find them. But what we don't do is go out there and stick it in anybody's face, because that's also, it's just not right.
Now, Louise is asking, how can one be more directly involved with the center? Volunteer at a local center or something.
Is that our Louise?
Louise K. from Brighton.
It's not our Louise. It's Louise from Brighton. Well, like I said also to Claire, there'll be opportunities where you can be involved with many activities. For example, there was an activity in London a few weeks ago, I guess, now. And, the friends organised it. They did something nice for everyone. So there'll be opportunities to organise meetings. There'll be opportunities to work on blogs and so on. So there's always something to do. If you're good at writing, maybe you can write a short article about a topic and things like that as well. Sometimes our friends help with translations or editing. If you don't have a second language, you can edit stuff. Sometimes we have dissemination brainstorming sessions. How can we do things better, or is there something new we can do? So there's always something to do. For example, we've got on the what do we have with the BB Africa group? I've got a new thing on there which nobody has volunteered for at the moment, which is 1 minute a day dissemination. It was 2 minutes. I cut it down to 1 minute a day. Still, nobody's lifting any hands. I don't know how that's going to...
Oh, you see the look on Dilly's face?
Yeah. It was, I specifically first wrote 2 minutes a day because it is actually taking 2 minutes a day, 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute in the afternoon, to post a link from the Rav's block there. But I didn't see anybody raising hands, so I said, okay, let's just cut it down to 1 minute a day. Maybe we'll raise some interest. And still... nobody got back to me, so I don't know, they're going to be getting spiritual. But it's a good thing because I've got a few friends here from that group, which is Taurus, Louise and Dilly's. Louise, where's your webcam? And Bright also. Is Bright about?
Hey, there's Louisa.
There's Louisa. Okay, now Louise, wave your hands. Okay, Dillies, Louise, Tauris. Where's Bright? Is Bright on there?
Bright is down here in the corner.
Okay,
yes.
so Bright is there as well. Now these are our friends. They're going to be moderators, okay, in the young group semester. So all of you should know, okay, just in case you don't know them, Dillies, Tauris, Louise, and Bright. Yeah, there you go there, the hands up. Now, for example, they are going to be, next semester when they're doing this moderation, they're going to be also helping out, bestowing. Why? Because they care, okay, or they want to care, or they want to come to really care. And that's the most important thing, because we're a desire to receive pleasure, but we can also be a desire to want to help, rather than to always get.
And Godfrey also.
We can build. Where's Godfrey?
Godfrey's there. Yep.
He's there.
Godfrey, raise your hand.
Raise your hand, Godfrey. Great, lovely to see you there. Okay. So instead of being a desire to always receive, get, we can change our desire and turn it into a desire to want to bestow. And that sensation, if you've got kids, this is why I always raise the kids card when I talk about this, because you love your kids. When you give them a present, you become very happy. Even though you're spending your money, you're spending your time to getting them a present, you see the smile on their face and you become very happy, despite the fact that you spent money and time and effort. And that's called love. Okay, now the reason that's so special is because of this, because there are so many people that you can love and bestow to. The pleasure you get from that is endless. The reason it's endless is because we're all desired to receive. Imagine how many people you can fulfill if you love them. It's just an ocean of pleasure. Isn't it great? It's like having 8 billion children. You don't know which one to buy chocolate to. And that's your problem. Wow. Any questions?
Yes. So we have another question here. Varga is asking, is our coming into corporeality our choice or the Creator's choice?
It's the Creator's choice, Varga. I am sure if you had a chance to look at it from above there and compare your state from there to here, you would really not have decided to pop your head down here at all. Okay, that's the Creator's choice.
And let's see, Gary. Oh, no, sorry. Steffi has one last question. If you get to perfection, to spirituality, how can you help others if you see everything as perfect?
Well, if you're already there, you won't be able to. In order for us to help again, we've got to see the deficiencies of others. However, even in perfection, there are states where you can fulfill others. This is why I mentioned a minute ago here that we're all desires to receive. Look, we're all a desire to receive. Everybody, 8 billion of us, and this is not going to change. Remember, our nature, the desire to receive pleasure, is not going to change. So in spirituality, imagine a state where everybody is bestowing to everybody else. So everybody is just getting ultimate pleasure. It never ends. Imagine being with someone you love all the time. Okay, we can't imagine that. We can't imagine that in our reality, okay, because you probably get bored. But imagine that you had such a great connection and you never got bored from that person. You could be with them 24/7, 365 days. Yes, hard to imagine, but there you go. All right. So, and imagine that you're so well connected that you're always doing things for each other and never thinking about your own individual self. So in spirituality, that motion of everybody is connected to everybody else and is bestowing fully with this sensation of loving them truly is a feeling of endless pleasure. And within that pleasure, you feel all the spiritual worlds that we talked about. All the spiritual worlds, remember? The world of Adam Kadmon, Atzilut, Bria, Yitzhak, Asiyah. All the emotions that we go through, our emotions, sensations, aspirations, everything. You actually begin to live in these inner sensations, and all these inner sensations mold into, all these ingredients mold into this lovely cake called love. It's a bit weird when we're talking about it in corporeal reality, because it's not something that's really, really appreciated in life, unfortunately, in the 21st century. When we're talking about caring for others, loving each other and so on, they think this is like a kindergarten thing, kindergarten curriculum, okay? However, though, what we're talking about here is attaining an attribute. Don't just look at it like some fuzzy feeling that you might get. No, it's not a fuzzy feeling at all. It's a very intellectual understanding within sensations, within the feelings, of what the Creator is and why He does what He does and how He does it. All of that is included in that. So it's a very concise definition of completeness in one word. And we are over time by about 7 minutes, exactly in 2 seconds. Any other questions?
That's it.
All right, great. Now I just want to make sure that we get this concept very, very nice and clear. Hope you guys are going to be following us next Tuesday. All right. And once again,
No, not next Tuesday.
No, next Tuesday is the Congress. So you guys got to follow up the Congress, okay? Next Tuesday is the Congress. Follow it up. It's on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you got 3 days of full days of Congresses. You can follow them up. And the lessons and everything will be recorded and archived. So you'll have an opportunity to go over them if you do so wish. But in the evening, it's really, really good to connect, because there'll be an evening show. There'll be songs. There'll be dancing. Hopefully we won't be making any trains. Hopefully not. Okay. But we should all be having a good time, and hopefully we should be good. Okay, the camera is gone, but not a problem. Have a great evening. See you guys next time. So next Tuesday is Congress, and the one after that we're going to be meeting again with the young group lessons. Take care. All the best.
Bye.